Change isn't just coming, it's already here. This is Ask for Change podcast, hosted by leadership expert Meridith Powell. Brings you weekly conversations with leaders and experts who are redefining success in a world of disruption. Let's begin today's journey and turn uncertainty into your competitive advantage.
All right, welcome to Ask for Change. I'm super excited today because I have a great guest, an unbelievable friend, and quite frankly, somebody I love to learn from. None other than Brynne Tillman. Brynne, welcome to the show.
Oh gosh, Meredith, this is like such a dream to hang out with you. I fangirl over you every Saturday morning when you're live with Mark, and you're just amazing and brilliant and fabulous. So thank you for your kind words. That certainly makes my day.
Well, Brynne, when I think about you, I think like you were cool. You were LinkedIn cool when LinkedIn wasn't cool. Like you've kind of been in this game for so long. So I'm curious from your perspective. I mean, there you are, you're a sales strategist, you're a LinkedIn expert, you're the person who's really teaching people how to use LinkedIn effectively. And quite frankly, as it relates to sales, helping people understand what it takes to sell in today's world. But I was curious, I was thinking about this interview and thinking about talking with you. Since you started on this journey, I'd love to know when it was. What have you seen change? And what do you think are some of the biggest things that people need to pay attention to in today's marketplace when it comes to building relationships and sales?
Oh gosh, two big questions. One, I should remember the date for whatever reason. I remember lots of dates except the one I got on LinkedIn, but I believe that it was in 2005. I fell in love with it immediately because it solved a big problem for me. Initially in sales, I've always been good at sales. I've always been good at sales training. I've gone through the ringer of cold calling and all that stuff. And I loved everything about sales except the very top of the funnel. It was my least favorite piece of sales. And I used to sit across from clients staring at Rolodexes thinking, oh my God, there's gold in there if I could just get my hands on it. So when I saw LinkedIn, I went, oh my gosh, I was just handed all their Rolodexes. So I guess I put all my eggs in the LinkedIn basket and I said, people need to know how to leverage this. And so how has it changed over the year? Almost none of it is recognizable.
Wow.
It has changed so much. And it's so fun because I've done it all on video. So one of these days I'm going to do, over the decades, LinkedIn, and screenshots of the crazy changes. But most of the time it's getting better. And what I really love, they are starting to bring in a little bit of AI. They're not doing it great, but I think they will eventually. But they're really starting to change the algorithm side of things where people may go, oh my gosh, I'm getting much less views of my content. And but what's happening is it's real algorithm numbers. There are people that are stopping on it for more than 3 seconds.
Oh,
right. So before you'd scroll by and it would be considered a view. And so it's real data now. It's not as ego pushing as it was before, right? I used to get 3,000 views. Now I'm getting 28, but those are 28 people that stopped.
Yeah.
So I do think that they're making strides in making it a data-driven, more realistic data-driven platform.
When I think about LinkedIn, one of the things that I've been so impressed with LinkedIn is the fact that they have been able to insulate themselves from all the drama that happens on all the other social media channels. I mean, it really, for the most part, probably 98% of the content I see is business focused content. It's information I learned from. I don't know people's politics. I don't know where they had dinner. I don't know, where they went with their family on vacation. It's very much business focused. What do you think they've done that's been able to keep it focused that way?
So I have to guess because and in fact, probably most people inside of LinkedIn don't even know because the people that set it up aren't there anymore. But chances are it's algorithm, right? What we promote is what people put out there, right? So if they say, I don't want pictures of dinner, unless you're a restaurant.
Right.
And that's what you're promoting. Then they won't show it to as many people. And then it just out of the response says, and if that's not working, what would work? And then the next piece works better. So I think where LinkedIn has been smart, and it's been detrimental over the years, is they really take a tight hold on the algorithm. I'm just going to say, if anyone's listening and they're interested in learning about the algorithm, Richard Vanderbloom is the expert on worldwide on the algorithm. Go follow him.
On understanding the algorithm. Yeah.
He researches it. Hundreds of thousands of people submit, I don't know, tens of that. I exaggerate him in sales. Many, 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 many people submit numbers and data to him. People in the industry, people out of the industry. I mean, that is what he's most famous and known for. And he puts out a report once a year on the updates to the algorithm. So, and most of the time, if I say I'm guessing, I didn't learn it from him. If I say I know, I probably learned it from him.
So what do you think some of the biggest mistakes are that people are making on LinkedIn? And I want to jump in, and I want to talk a bit about your book here that you and Jeb Blunt wrote on the LinkedIn Edge. So talk a little bit about that, and what is the LinkedIn Edge?
Well, I'll start by The Edge is a series that Jeb is running. Yes. I'm book number 2. So, but the LinkedIn Edge is getting your edge in the marketplace by leveraging LinkedIn the right way. So you said, what are the mistakes? The mistakes are connect and pitch. The mistakes are running automation. Those are mistakes that are getting made that people very clearly see. And unlike cold calling, when you do a bad job on LinkedIn, you could get reported and blocked, which could shut your account down. And they click through, they see your face, your company, your brand. It hurts you. On a cold call, they hang up. They don't even remember who you were. On LinkedIn, there's damage that can happen. So cold calling on LinkedIn with no context and, the connect and pitch and the automation probably are the 2 biggest mistakes. I'll say there's a third mistake that's very controversial. Okay. And I would say if you're in sales and you understand the first 2 and you're not doing that, the third one you're doing, which is connect and forget. We build a network. It's like I go into a conference and I walk around to every table going, hi, I'm Brynne. And I take their card and I stick it in my pocket and I go home. And then I take all those cards and I put a rubber band around them and stick them in the corner of my desk. And I never have a conversation. What a waste of my time and energy and money and all those things, right? We're doing that on LinkedIn. All of us. I'm guilty of this too at times, right? We've got this network that we've hopefully in some ways purposefully have built, and we're not leveraging it, and we're not nurturing it, and we're not, tapping into it for insights and introductions. And so I would say that's probably the biggest mistake salespeople are making, if in fact they have integrity and are not doing 1 and 2.
How should be, I think about this. I think about the fact that, oh my God, I've been around for flipping ever. And I think I have so many contacts. I have so many connections. And I'm one of those people that if you reach out and connect to me on LinkedIn, I'll connect with you. How do you navigate all that? Like, how do you, I think about it like in the old days when we used to go to the Chamber of Commerce and we'd go to the Rotary Club and we'd end up with meet 100 people, but there would be 20 that you would stay close to. Is it sort of that same thought process on LinkedIn?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And by the way, I love that you brought that up, because we often tell people treat the person on the other side of the message the same way you would if they were on the other side of the table. It's still a human being. A lot of times we look at LinkedIn as a lead list. There are people on the other side of that message. Right? Like it's such a different mindset. So how do you decide? Well, take inventory. And this is something that I think is really important. Even in the free LinkedIn, we can do a pretty good job of drilling down our first degree connections by industry, by title, by location. And, so maybe, you have over 50,000 followers and such, but you probably have maybe 28 or 30,000 connections. You can max 30, right? how would you know of those 30,000 who you should be approaching? Well, you search them and you get a list. And even in the free, although I'm a huge fan of Sales Navigator, and if you're in sales, especially if your job is starting conversations, Sales Navigator used well, I still believe is the best tool in the industry.
Wow.
But let's say you don't have it, your company's not supporting it, and you have the free, it's okay. There's a lot you can do in the free. And one of them is to take inventory of your existing connections and really determine a few things, like what is the challenge they're going through that you can bring value to without pitching. And right, that's the big one. So there are lots of ways to do this. David Newman, our friend David Newman, taught me very early on what's going on in their environment before they know they need you. And that's where you start your content. You start your content at the stage before they've shopped your solution, before, right? And that's the content that you're sending very early on in the conversation, because if they click there, you're next.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the most brilliant things I ever learned. There are a lot of brilliant things from a lot of people, but that was such an impact, and I learned it so early in my entrepreneurial career, because he was the first person I ever hired to help me, because I didn't know marketing. I only knew sales. And he was amazing. So that stuck with me forever. And so now we've got this list of people that we want to re-engage. And now we've developed content that, if we're getting them at the right time, will lead to business faster.
So when you think about a typical day in the life of a salesperson, and how much time do you suggest they spend on LinkedIn? What does that look like on a daily basis? And what would be your prescription if somebody were going to be successful from this perspective?
So I'm going to take the content development out of this equation for a moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's important, because for a lot of salespeople, they do a little bit on their own, but marketing is going to do that for you. I mean, you've got support in that arena.
But engagement,
yes,
is really important, right?
Yes.
So all right. I'm going to back out and tell you a story. In 1992, when I was working at Dun & Bradstreet, and we got email. I mean, it was called CC mail at the time.
Yeah.
It wasn't even email. And I remember sitting in Mary Ann's office, my manager, saying, I don't know how you think I'm going to fit this CC mail, this email, into my day. I am so busy. You want me to answer these emails? It's ridiculous. That's what LinkedIn is. It should be open all day long, right? It needs to be seamlessly integrated into your daily routine. Don't pick up the phone and call anyone until their LinkedIn profile is up. Don't ask a question that you could have learned from their LinkedIn profile. I get on a call with someone who's trying to sell me something, and they go, "So where are you?" I'm like, well, I know where you are, and I know how many shared connections we have, and I did it while the phone is dialing, or while I'm waiting on Zoom to come in, right? Whatever that is, like, you get really fast at, what are the 3 things I want to know to start the conversation, the rapport. Hey, you're in Minneapolis. That's one of my favorite cities. Last time I was there, I was at Jill Conrad's house. Yeah. I don't want to drop names. But right now, I'm kidding. That was kind of a joke. Yeah. But the point of that all is they want to know that you invested a little time in getting to know them first, right? This is, we call it hyper personalization, but it's really fast. The other thing is, with AI, pre-call planning is 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? If you've got a really good prompt, which, by the way, you can ask any of your LLMs to write you a prompt for a really good prompt. But if you have a really good prompt for pre-call planning, you can stick their LinkedIn profile in the LLM and say, what are all the things I need to know about them? Give me a SWOT. Tell me the 5 competitors. There are 5 competitors. Who do they serve? What is the solution they provide? And I'm telling you, in 30 seconds, you can have that. But all of that should be integrated before every single call.
Right.
So it's not like I'm chunkifying time throughout the day.
Right.
I also engage that way, right? I get to their profile. Do they have content? Do I want to engage on their content? I do, however, have a custom feed of content in the free LinkedIn, and I use my Sales Navigator all day long. But I have created a first degree posts of people in specific industries that I do best in, people I'm connected to, and I bookmarked it in Chrome. And so every day I'll go in and I'll engage, with 8, 10, 12 people. And I never look at my home feed ever, because it's a rabbit hole, black hole of noise. I don't get one ad. I don't get, this is literally exactly the content I want. If you are account-based, you can create in the free LinkedIn, you just search posts and list all of the accounts that are yours. And every day you have a feed of all the content from those accounts.
I love that. I'm going to do that with I just finished my prospect list for 2026.
Yeah.
And I think it would be a great way to, to stay in touch, to comment, and to build connection and relationships with those people. That's a mic drop tip.
So I will also say, I use that content to my champion. So it say, hey, George, I'm not sure if you saw that you guys just won this award. A lot of times in big companies, you miss your own press. And it's a great way to start conversations. So.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent. Now, I want to switch gears a little bit, because we think of you as like the LinkedIn guru, but you're off on this new venture, and this new venture of what you call the narcissistic salesperson, or the rescue of the narcissistic.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about, first of all, I want to know why you focused on the narcissistic salesperson.
Well, I'll start with LinkedIn is full of them.
Oh,
right. That everything is, and I just keep posting. So these are just post after post of really bad messages. Really love. Hello, first name, literally. Yeah. I'm like, your automation isn't even working.
Right.
Right. And then they sell automation. So they want me to buy the system that already messed up.
Right.
So, yeah. Anyway, all over the place. And then as I'm doing this, and I've been in sales, people are like, this is not limited to LinkedIn. This narcissism is everywhere. Ego is killing deals. And, I'm a huge fan of the Go-Giver. And so I start playing in my head on this little fable of Nico the narcissist, who has been a really good, normal salesperson for decades. But in the last, 5 or 6 years, he's just not making it. And he loses his biggest deal. It's a client that he's had forever, that he took for granted. His champion left, and he made no other relationships inside, because he had such a strong relationship with the champion that he didn't feel he had to, right? And he gets berated by his boss, and he's like, I know I need to make a change. And he sits in his office. This is the book, by the way. And he looks at his bookshelf of all the books that he's bought over the years that he's never opened. And he goes on a journey.
Which we all can relate to as salespeople. Right?
Absolutely. But he goes on the journey of all the books that have influenced me. So right now I've identified 18 books. There may be more. And full disclosure, almost all my books are audio, but I still consume them. It's just in audio.
Yeah.
So a lot of mine aren't cracked, but I've listened to a lot of them. Anyway, so the journey is he's learning from all the things I've learned from. And the reason I went down this path is, as I'm doing this, I'm like, I learned this from Jeb Blunt, and I learned this from David Newman, and I learned this from Meridith. And so how do I give them all this credit in a fable?
Right.
That gets awkward. So I'm like, oh, this is how
you do it.
And so I'm really excited. I'm writing like crazy. I'm taking the entire Christmas break off to write.
Nice. And so the idea is that it sounds like the idea behind this book is the fact that the world, I think one of the biggest things I think right now is the world is changing for salespeople. I mean, when people ask me, the biggest mistake I think salespeople are making is they're still selling like it's 2019. They're still selling like it's and this is a very different world. So is that kind of where you're going?
Yeah. He made President's Club in 2019.
Right.
And now he can't even keep his top companies, right? He's losing his accounts. And really that's exactly what this is. This is the journey that salespeople need to take. And I'm not alone in any way qualified to tell them how to take it, but I am qualified to tell them at what stage is the right lesson from the people that I absolutely admire and love and adore that have helped me get to the point where I am, to recognize narcissistic behavior and to understand that this is a permission-based world. We no longer are in control. Like, we have take control of the sales call. We can't. Right? That is not an option anymore.
Those days are gone.
But what we can do is be their guide, and we can be there, and we can come into this going, hey, look, my goal is to help you overcome this challenge and be successful. If I can't do it, I have a great network of people that I can introduce you that can. Exactly. And I'm here to help you articulate truly what your challenge is, really help you to identify. And we go through, this is my own framework is called CHIRP. So This is my framework, which is, what is the challenge they're going through? What is the history of trying to fix this challenge? What have they done that hasn't worked? And by the way, it's usually nothing.
Yes.
Right. So what's the challenge? What's the history? What's the impact on the business today? What's the risk of not making a change? And where is this in your priority list? Mm-hmm. And as a salesperson, if we switch from BANT and MEDIC and these very complicated, well, BANT is not complicated. BANT is just seller-centric, not buyer-centric, right? Because it's what's your budget is what I want as a seller,
it's not right.
It's not buyer-centric. But if we get to the challenge and the impact, it doesn't matter what their budget is if we can quantify that we're fixing that.
Yeah, so true. And I think most of the time, as salespeople, we are not solving the right challenge because we determined what the challenge was rather than listened. I mean, you can't say that in the manufacturing industry right now, everybody's worried about supply chain because that may not be the blanket across the, across the board. I'm getting ready to do an SKO in the food service industry. And in the food service industry, I have a list of challenges, but I was talking to my client yesterday. His biggest challenge is opening up a new market. I have to solve that problem.
Right. That's the challenge. And the impact of him not doing that is way more money than you'd ever get if you asked him what his budget was to solve that problem. Like it's our job to help to articulate all of that. And sometimes you'll get to the end and go priority. And they're like, we have 7 other things that are on fire. This isn't a priority. And that's okay. Now it's your job to nurture them.
Exactly.
Right. And help them recognize over time, hey, it's been 6 months based on what we talked about. This is probably the lost revenue that came in because of that. Do you kind of want to just get back to the kind of drawing board and look at, maybe this might be a higher priority now. Right. And I can help you think through that. But we can't control their buying. We have to stop controlling the selling.
Yes.
Right. We have to be okay with it's not the right time or I'm not the right vendor and still be of value to them. So, there's, a quick no is better than a, second to a quick yes. I'm not sure about that anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. I think a quick no doesn't mean, it means I don't get to really understand the other things that are happening and where I might fit in later on.
Yeah. I also think that, I got a no on something yesterday and I just took that, I take it as the opportunity. I mean, my response was understand completely. I'm sure this was a great decision. I'm going to stay in touch. I'd love to explore opportunities to continue to build a relationship and connect in 2026 because my timing was off. That's all that was. It
wasn't your top priority.
Right.
Something else, right? Yeah. And that's okay.
It's fine. In fact, I always say to salespeople, what do you think the chances are you are going to interact with somebody at the exact moment they're ready to buy? Slim to none. Right.
Right.
And so it's that thing. Why do you think? I think I picked this up in COVID and I found it fascinating. We've always thought of the sales team as the cutting edge, innovative, people on the team. When the truth is we're more stuck in the mud than anybody is stuck in the mud. Why is there so much resistance to change in sales teams? And that's a blanket statement. I realize it's
it's a great statement. And I find that because, when LinkedIn is my primary product, and now I teach Copilot with LinkedIn in teams, technology is the innovation, whether they like it or not. And their sales people are using it, whether they like it or not, and they're just using it wrong mostly. So why is there such a resistance to change? I think when it comes to sales, the pressure of the numbers from the top are so enormous that more than almost any other department. Yeah, procurement has a little bit of pressure, but not the same.
Yeah.
Not the same, right? Procurement is about saving money. Sales is about bringing it in. And, the entire company runs on what sales does. So I think change is the scariest. However, if you're not making your nut, jump in.
Right.
And right. Like it's kind of like you're afraid to make a change, but what you're doing isn't coming back.
Right.
It's not coming back. So not making a change is typically a much bigger risk than trying something new.
Far, far bigger risk than trying something new. It is hard to believe, but we are at the end of this podcast. And so you're just going to have to do it again because we have lots more to discuss. I want to have you back when you finish this book because I'd love to have a lot more discussion on it and help you promote it. But I always end with two questions, and you can answer them in any way you want to. Number one, how do people find out about you? How do they follow you, find out about your books and your programs? The second is, if you had one piece of advice for people getting ready for the uncertainty that the next year holds, what do you think is your best piece of advice to help people learn to turn uncertainty to their greatest competitive advantage?
Okay, I love that, and I was ready for that. So, yeah. But also, where can they get me? I am going all in on Bryn.ai. This is now a new coach that Meridith is part of. Fuel.
Yes,
an incredible program. You can 7 days for free. Go to Brynne.ai, Brynne.ai will take you to Fuel, where you can ask me anything for 7 days.
I love that.
I'm excited. And by the way, when you join, you can ask Meridith anything for 7 days.
You can ask any of us, and we'll talk straight to you. Ask us any question.
Yep. So really, really fun. And I name dropped you all over my emails when I promoted this. I'm like, ask me and Meridith and Chris Beal. And, I'm like, yeah.
Well, that'd be so good to cross promote each other.
I know. I'm very excited about that. And then what's the one piece of advice? And I would say the one piece of advice that I would give is this hasn't changed. It's just changed different. It's in a different framework. You need to build and nurture a strong network of people that trust you, that you've nurtured, that you've brought value to, because in uncertainty, relationships can still be certain.
Yeah. I love that you have said that because I love the fact I've deemed 2026 as the year of authenticity, connection, and relationship. And I think AI is so powerful, but it's going to drive this need for the human connection again, and so I love that. I love that advice.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, as always, this has been amazing. And as I said, I really want to have you back when the next one comes on. And maybe we'll do one to talk about what we're doing with Fuel and the programs there, because I really do think it's revolutionizing the industry and how we interact, with one another and with content these days.
Yeah, it's really very, very cool. And yes, I would love to cross promote. We could. I'm talking to Alex about us running a podcast for all the instructors, and we can just
that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. I hope that our listeners have a wonderful holiday season. And we'll see all of you right back here next week for another episode of Ask for Change, the show where we help you turn all of this uncertainty into your greatest competitive advantage. We'll see you next week.